Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we are on day 254. Welcome to the channel. We are going to be reading out of 2 Samuel chapter 16, Ezekiel chapter 10, Mark chapter 9, but only verses 1 through 29 today, and then we're going to close out the day with Psalm 125. So let's hop into 2 Samuel chapter 16 and we were kind of left on a cliffhanger yesterday. Let's see what's happening. All right. When David was a little past the top, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of donkeys saddled, and on them 200 loaves of bread, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 100 summer fruits, and a container of wine. The king said to Ziba, "What do you mean by these?" And Ziba said, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, and the bread and the summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine, that those who are faint in the wilderness may drink." The king said, "Where's your master's son?" And Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he is staying in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Israel will restore me to the kingdom of my father.'" Then the king said to Ziba, "Behold, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours." And Ziba said, "I bow down. Let me find favor in your sight, O my lord, O king." When King David came to Bahurim, behold, a man of the family of Saul's house came out, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came out and cursed as he came. He cast stones at David and at all the servants of King David, and all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. Shimei said when he cursed, be gone, you man of blood and wicked fellow. Yahweh has returned on you all the blood of Saul's house, in whose place you have reigned. Yahweh has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. Behold, you are caught by your own mischief, because you are a man of blood." Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Please let me go over and take off his head." The king said, "What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? Because he curses, and because Yahweh has said to him, 'Curse David,' who then shall say, 'Have you done so?'" David said to Abishai and to all his servants, "Behold, my son who came out of my bowels seeks my life. How much more this Benjamite now? Leave him alone and let him curse, for Yahweh has invited him. It may be that Yahweh will look on the wrong done to me, and that Yahweh will repay me good for the cursing of me today." So David and his men went by the way, and Shimei went along on the hillside opposite him, and cursed as he went, threw stones at him, and threw dust. The king and all the people who were with him arrived weary, and he refreshed himself there. Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. When Hushai the Archite, David's friend, had come to Absalom, Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your kindness to your friend? Why didn't you go with your friend?" Hushai said to Absalom, "No, but whomever Yahweh and his people and all the men of Israel have chosen, I will be his, and I will stay with him. Again, whom should I serve? Shouldn't I serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in your father's presence, so I will be in your presence." Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give your counsel what we shall do." Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Go into your father's concubines that he has left to keep the house. Then all Israel will hear that you are abhorred by your father. Then the hands of all those who are with you will be strong. So they spread a tent for Absalom on the top of the house, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. The counsel of Ahithophel, which he gave in those days, was as if a man inquired at the inner sanctuary of God. All the counsel of Ahithophel was like this, both with David and with Absalom. And there we have it. Do I need to comment? No. Let's move into Ezekiel chapter 10. Oh, goodness sake. All right. Then I looked, and see, in the expanse that was over the head of the cherubim, there appeared above them, as it was a sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. He spoke to the man clothed in linen, and said, Go in between the whirling wheels, even under the cherub, and fill both your hands with coals of fire from between the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. He went in, and I watched. Now the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Yahweh's glory mounted up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahweh's glory. The sound of the wings of the cherubim was heard even to the outer court, as the voice of God Almighty when he speaks. It came to pass when he commanded the man clothed in linen, saying, Take fire from between the whirling wheels, from between the cherubim, that he went in and stood beside a wheel. The cherub stretched out his hand from between the cherubim to the fire that was between the cherubim, and took some of it, and put it into the hands of him who was clothed in linen, who took it and went out. The form of the man's hand appeared here in the cherubim under their wings. I looked, and behold, there were 4 wheels beside the cherubim, 1 wheel beside one cherub, and another wheel beside another cherub. The appearance of the wheels was like a beryl stone. As of their appearance, the 4 of them had one likeness, like a wheel within a wheel. When they went by, they went in their 4 directions. They didn't turn as they went, but to the place where the head looked, they followed it. They didn't turn as they went. Their whole body, including their backs, their hands, their wings, and their wheels, were full of eyes all around, even the wheels that the 4 of them had. As for the wheels, they were called in my hearing, the whirling wheels. Every one of them had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub. The second face was the face of a man. The third face was the face of a lion, and the fourth face was the face of an eagle. The cherubim mounted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river Chebar. When the cherubim went, the wheels went beside them, and when the cherubim lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the wheels also didn't turn from beside them. When they stood, these stood. When they mounted up, these mounted up with them, for the spirit of the living creature was in them. Yahweh's glory went out from over the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim. The cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight, and when they went out, with the wheels beside them. Then they stood at the door of the east gate of Yahweh's house, and the glory of God of Israel was over them above. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river Chebar, and I knew that they were cherubim. Every one had 4 faces, and every one 4 wings. The likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. As for the likeness of their faces, they were the faces which I saw by the river Chebar, their appearances and themselves. They each went straight forward. Wow. Okay. Mark chapter 9, verse 1 through 29. Jesus said to them, "Most certainly I tell you, there are some standing here who will in no way taste death until they see God's kingdom come with power." After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and brought them up onto a high mountain, privately by themselves. And he was changed into another form in front of them. His clothing became glistening, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth can whiten them. Elijah and Moses appeared to them, and they were sitting, talking with Jesus. Peter answered Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let's make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." For he didn't know what to say, for they were very afraid. A cloud came, and overshadowing them, and a voice came out of the cloud. "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." Suddenly, looking around, they saw no one with them anymore, except Jesus only. As they were coming down from the mountain, he commanded them that they should tell no one what things they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept this saying to themselves, questioning what the rising from the dead meant. They asked him, saying, "Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" And he said to them, "Elijah indeed comes first and restores all things. How it is written about the Son of Man that he should suffer many things and be despised. But I tell you that Elijah has come, and they have also done to him whatever they wanted to, even as it is written about him." Coming to the disciples, he saw a great multitude around them, and scribes questioning them. Immediately all the multitude, when they saw him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, greeted him. He asked the scribes, "What are you asking them?" One of the multitude answered, "Teacher, I brought to you my son, who has a mute spirit, and wherever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to cast it out, and they weren't able." He answered him, "Unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me." They brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit convulsed out of him, and he fell on the ground, wallowing and foaming at the mouth. He asked his father, "How long has it been since this has been happening to him?" He said, "From childhood. Often it has cast him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." And Jesus said to him, "If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes." And immediately the father of the child cried out with tears, "I believe, help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that the multitude came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." After crying out and convulsing him greatly, it came out of him. The boy became like one dead, so much that most of them said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and raised him up, and he arose. When he had come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we cast it out?" And he said to them, "This kind can come out by nothing but by prayer and fasting." Oh, goodness. Another day where there is so much in Mark. They break up Psalms into these, 4 and 5 verses. I wish they would do that with Mark because there's so much to cover here. The first one is when the Father says, "I believe, but help my unbelief." How many of us have said that? We know that he is the healer. We know that he can change things. We know that prayer changes things. But there is this little seed of unbelief. There is this little seed sometimes, at least for me, there's this little seed that is like, "Natalie, you're asking way too much. You don't deserve it. He doesn't want to do it. He's busy with mothers who are mourning children in Africa who have just starved to death and died. Who are you?" And so that's where, please help my unbelief. Help me to remember that you don't take care of us one at a time, that one problem is not bigger than another. Help my unbelief. And then this other one, I always found really interesting because it's not talked about much that I've ever heard. When the disciples said, "Why couldn't we cast it out?" Okay, so heading on back, Jesus sent the disciples out so that, many hands make light work. So with everybody, coming up to Jesus, thousands and thousands and thousands, Jesus sent out disciples and said, "Okay, you know what? You go ahead and, cast out a few demons for me, would you please? Or heal some people for me, would you please? I just have too much work." And so, the disciples tried with this particular kid and it didn't work. And, Jesus went and did it, appearing to be frustrated. He answered, "Unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me." That is not Jesus-like. Anyways, when he responds to them after they asked, "Why couldn't we cast it out?" He said to them, "This kind can come out by nothing but by prayer and fasting." So, I don't know, it just kind of makes me wonder, I don't know, it just kind of puts my brain in a little bit of a pretzel, because are actions not enough? Are they just not enough? Are we also supposed to be fasting and praying before we do the action? Are there deeper ways than just running through life doing the bare minimum? Oh, just the questions I have, because I do not have all the answers. All right, here we go. Psalm 125, a song of ascents. Those who trust in Yahweh are as Mount Zion, which can't be moved, but remains forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so Yahweh surrounds his people from this time forward and forevermore. For the scepter of wickedness won't remain over the allotment of the righteous, so that the righteous won't use their hands to do evil. Do good, Yahweh, to those who are good, to those who are upright in their hearts. But as for those who turn away to their crooked ways, Yahweh will lead them away with the workers of iniquity. Peace be on Israel. Yes. Well, I apologize again for rambling on in Mark. I really love this book. I do like many books, but I do have my top 5, and Mark is definitely in the top 5, along with Matthew, and coincidentally, they're both the walks of Jesus. I'm just fascinated by him, and I am so intrigued by if we could just follow what he said, what an amazing, amazing, beautiful world this would be. It would be heaven on earth. So, thank you. I will try and keep my comments a little shorter. Otherwise, we will never get through the days. They will ramble on. And we are only in Mark chapter 9. So I promise, come back tomorrow and I will cut things a little short. Have the most fantastic day. Tomorrow is going to be day 255. I will see you then. Bye.